Sagittarius, you'll fall apart after this call. The truth will shock you. Unbelievable news is coming. Have you ever felt a sudden, unshakable sense that something life-changing was about to happen? Even though everything around you seemed normal? Maybe it's been a strange dream you can't forget, a message that keeps showing up, or simply a whisper in your heart that says, "Get ready, something is coming." If you're nodding right now, beautiful Sagittarius soul, you are exactly where you need to be. Welcome to Zodiac Wisdom. I'm Sophia, your friend, your guide, and a fellow traveler on this incredible journey. Here we don't just talk about horoscopes. We dive deep into the language of the universe, the signs that most people miss, and the truth that your soul has always known but sometimes forgotten. If you haven't already, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the powerful messages that the universe is sending your way. Every step you take here brings you closer to the life you were meant to live. And trust me, today's message is something you don't want to miss, because what you are about to hear could change everything. Stay with me until the end, because the most surprising, life-altering truth is waiting for you there. And who knows, what you hear today might just unlock a door you thought was forever closed. So what are you waiting for? Grab your favorite cup of tea, settle in, and let's step into the sacred truth together. And don't forget, if a part of this video resonates with you, if a sentence feels like it was written just for you, please share your thoughts in the comments below. You never know, your story might be the light someone else is praying to find. Are you ready, Sagittarius? Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Whisper Before the Storm. When Sagittarius feels the shift. As a Sagittarius, you're known for your boldness, your honesty, and your unstoppable hunger for truth. You're the one who charges forward when others hesitate, who seeks answers in the stars and meaning in every experience. But what happens when you, the explorer, start feeling something shifting inside, long before it shows up in the outside world? That quiet restlessness you've been feeling lately? It's not just a mood swing. It's a call. I've seen this pattern countless times in the women I coach, bright, capable Sagittarius souls in their 40s, 50s, even 60s, women who've built careers, raised families, weathered storms. Women who have done it all and still found themselves staring out the kitchen window or sitting in their car after errands wondering, what now? Why does something feel different? And then it happens. The phone rings. Sometimes literally, sometimes metaphorically. A message comes. A decision appears. Something or someone returns from the past. And suddenly the ground beneath you feels unsteady. Not because it's crumbling, but because it's shifting. Elevating. For Sagittarius, this isn't unfamiliar territory. You've always known change was part of your path. But this moment, this is different. This isn't a surface change. This is soul-level transformation, the kind that rearranges you from the inside out. Let me tell you about Sandra, a client of mine from Michigan, a small business owner and mom of 3. She came to me feeling off. Nothing was wrong exactly, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something big was around the corner. She had dreams of moving, of reconnecting with a long-lost friend, of finally doing the creative project she had shelved for years. And then one evening an unexpected call came. Her old college roommate, someone she hadn't spoken to in 20 years, called to say, "I've been thinking about you nonstop. I don't know why, but I feel like we need to talk." That call, it set off a domino effect that led Sandra to close her business, move cross-country, and finally publish the book she'd been secretly writing for a decade. That call didn't change her life. It confirmed what her intuition already knew. Sagittarius, your fire sign energy is ruled by Jupiter, the planet of expansion, of faith, of destiny. And when Jupiter whispers, it's not random. It's a prelude. So if you've been having those moments, waking up at 3 a.m. for no reason, hearing a name over and over, feeling like something is about to happen, don't ignore it. That's your Sagittarian radar picking up divine frequencies. This chapter of your life begins not with answers but with awareness. Not with control but with curiosity. The universe isn't testing you. It's inviting you to listen, to trust, to get ready. So when the call comes, whatever form it takes, don't let fear convince you it's the end. Because for Sagittarius, the truth that shatters you is often the same truth that sets you free. Chapter 2. The Truth You Can't Unhear, and the Brave Heart That Rises. There's a moment in every Sagittarius journey when the truth hits like lightning. Sudden, blinding, impossible to ignore. It might come through a phone call, a conversation that starts casual but ends with your whole reality shifting. Or maybe it comes through silence, through the way someone doesn't show up when you needed them most, through the absence that says more than words ever could. However it arrives, the truth doesn't knock on your door gently. It barrels in, flips the table, and dares you to still believe in yourself. And for someone like you, Sagittarius, who has always sought truth like an archer seeks a target, this moment feels like betrayal. Because the truth isn't what you wanted, but it's what you needed. You don't fear the truth. You fear what it might demand of you. I remember coaching Meredith, a Sagittarius mother of 2 in her 50s, who had spent decades holding her family together. She told herself for years that she was okay, that her marriage was just going through another phase, that her needs could wait. But then one morning she overheard a conversation that changed everything. It wasn't cruel or dramatic, just honest, too honest to unhear. And in that moment she saw her life for what it had become. A beautiful shell around a woman who had stopped choosing herself. That kind of truth is what I call sacred. It doesn't arrive to punish, it arrives to awaken. Sagittarius, you were never meant to shrink into comfort. You were built for courage. And courage isn't about dramatic exits or impulsive decisions. Courage is about facing the mirror, looking into your own eyes and saying, "This isn't working anymore. And I won't lie to myself another day." The thing about Sagittarius is that your truth is rarely quiet. It burns. It demands movement. Once you know something, you can't unknow it. And trying to pretend like nothing happened only leads to resentment toward others, but more painfully, toward yourself. The truth may unravel the life you knew, but it also unearths the woman you forgot you were. The version of you who dares to write a new chapter without needing a co-author. The version of you who doesn't wait for permission to feel joy again. The version of you who remembers that her voice, yes, that bold, brave voice, is not too much. It's medicine. I've seen it happen over and over. Women who have buried their truth for years finally saying it out loud and watching their entire world shift. Not because the world changed, but because they did. And that's what this moment is asking of you. To rise. To say the thing you've been holding back. To name what hurts so you can start to heal it. To trust that even if it all falls apart, you are strong enough to rebuild. Not just a life that looks good, but a life that feels right. Sagittarius, your bravery doesn't lie in what you endure. It lies in what you refuse to endure any longer. And that brave heart of yours? It's not broken. It's waking up. Chapter 3. When the old falls away, and the real you emerges. There comes a moment in every Sagittarius woman's life when something, or someone, simply stops fitting. A friendship feels heavy instead of healing. A job that once felt exciting now feels like a cage. A version of you that once made sense now feels unfamiliar. Like a coat that no longer fits your shoulders. And the most confusing part is that there's no obvious trigger. No grand betrayal. No explosive argument. Just a quiet realization. I'm not her anymore. If you're nodding along right now, I want to tell you something you might need to hear. This is not a breakdown. This is a breakthrough. Sagittarius, you are ruled by Jupiter, the planet of expansion. And when you've outgrown something, your soul knows before your mind does. That uneasy feeling in your chest? That restlessness that no vacation, no shopping trip, no motivational podcast can fix? That's your inner compass recalibrating. You were never meant to stay small, to stay in places that no longer reflect the size of your spirit. But here's the hard truth. Growth almost always feels like loss first. Because before we become who we are meant to be, we must release who we used to be. I remember a session with a client named Lisa, a Sagittarius in her mid-40s who had built a successful bakery in a small town. Everyone admired her. She had a dream life, they said. But every time she stood behind the counter, watching another cake go out the door, something inside her ached. Not because she hated it, but because she wasn't in love with it anymore. For 2 years she dismissed that ache. I should be grateful, she told herself. This is stability. Until one afternoon she told me, I'm scared I've created a life that looks perfect, but I don't see myself in it anymore. That, my friend, is the sacred discomfort of a Sagittarius on the brink of rebirth. You see, when the old starts falling away, it feels terrifying. We cling to it not because it's right, but because it's familiar. That relationship you know is misaligned, but you hold on just in case. That job that drains you but you tell yourself, it pays the bills. That role you've played in everyone else's life. Reliable, giving, holding everything together. Even when no one asks if you're okay. Letting go of all that isn't giving up. It's coming home. And for Sagittarius, home isn't a place. It's a state of alignment. It's that feeling of being wildly, unapologetically, and entirely you. The shedding process is messy. You might cry for what you chose to leave even if it hurt you. You might doubt yourself, question if you're selfish for wanting more. But you know what's even harder than letting go? Staying in a life that no longer reflects who you've become. You didn't come this far to perform a version of yourself that no longer exists. You came to embody your truth, even if that truth costs you comfort, applause, or relationships that were built on an outdated version of you. Sagittarius, your soul isn't confused. It's calling you to stop settling, to stop editing yourself to be palatable to others, to stop waiting for the perfect time to make a change. There is no perfect time. There is only now. The truth is, you've already started. The fact that you're listening to this message, that your heart is beating faster with recognition, that tears are welling up or your chest is opening, that is your soul saying, thank you for seeing me. This is where the real you begins to emerge, not the one shaped by expectations, but the one built by fire. The one who has been through enough to know that peace is not the absence of change. It's the presence of truth. And when the old finally falls away, and you're standing there with hands trembling and heart exposed, you'll feel something surprising. Relief. Like you can breathe again. Like maybe, just maybe, you're finally in your life instead of watching it happen. And that, dear Sagittarius, is not a collapse. It is your expansion. Chapter 4. A new kind of freedom, and the quiet strength to stay. Freedom used to mean movement to you, Sagittarius. Plane ticket. A new project. A fresh love. For years, you equated liberation with forward motion, with escape, with chasing the next mountain, the next horizon, the next high. And you weren't wrong, those things lit you up. They awakened your spirit. They expanded your view of the world. But now, something inside you has shifted. Now, freedom feels different. Quieter. Less like running, more like resting in your truth. Less like fleeing from discomfort, and more like standing still inside it without flinching. This kind of freedom, the internal kind, takes more courage than any road trip or breakup or business launch ever did. It asks you to stay. To stay with yourself when the excitement wears off. To stay when you're uncertain. To stay when the applause stops and all you're left with is your reflection. But Sagittarius, what a powerful, beautiful reflection that is. For the first time, you're not trying to prove anything. You're just being. Fully. Honestly. Softly. I once worked with a Sagittarius named Dana, 48 years old, recently divorced, and newly living alone for the first time in 2 decades. She told me, I thought I'd be traveling the world by now, finally free. But instead, I'm in my kitchen folding laundry, and it's the most peace I've ever felt. That's when I smiled and said, you found the real freedom. The kind that doesn't depend on scenery, but on self-acceptance. See, you've always had the fire, Sag. That's never been in question. But this chapter is not about burning things down. It's about warming your own hands by the flame you've tended inside for so long. It's about learning to be still without calling it stagnation. To breathe without needing a destination. To love the woman you are becoming, not for how much she accomplishes, but for how gently she holds herself when no one else is watching. And yes, this part of the journey can feel lonely. You may feel like everyone else is sprinting towards something while you're slowing down. But let me reassure you, you are not falling behind. You are catching up with your soul, with your body, with the life that's been waiting for you to finally pause long enough to receive it. This is where your wisdom ripens. This is where your truest power is born, not in saying yes to every opportunity, but in saying no with clarity. No to chaos. No to expectations that aren't yours. No to proving your worth by how much you give. Instead, you're saying yes to something softer but far more sacred: balance. Boundaries. The beauty of enough. And here's the secret. When you master the art of staying grounded, staying authentic, staying soft, you become magnetic. People will feel your energy before you even speak. Opportunities will find you not because you're chasing them, but because you've aligned with them. You won't have to seek permission to shine anymore. You are the light. So take this season, Sagittarius, to anchor yourself. Create a home within your own being. Let quiet mornings and long walks and deep conversations with yourself be your new passport. Let peace, not adrenaline, be the proof that you're alive. You've spent enough time conquering the outside world. Now it's time to claim your inner kingdom. This is the new freedom. The one where you don't need to run to feel alive. You only need to breathe and stay. Conclusion: you don't have to go far to come home to yourself. If you've stayed with me all the way to this moment, I want to tell you something. That's not a coincidence. That's your soul showing up. That's the strength of a Sagittarius heart, brave, curious, ever searching. Finally realizing that what you've been looking for has always been within you. We've walked together through a powerful journey today. From that moment you sensed something big was about to break, to the unexpected news that rattled your world, to the subtle shifts in your inner compass, and finally, to the quiet realization that falling apart might just be what allows you to rise truer, freer, and more aligned than ever before. So let me ask you, which part of this journey spoke to you the most? Was there a chapter that felt like it was written just for you? Was there a sentence that made your heart pause, breathe, and say, yes, that's me? I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Not just for me, but for all the Sagittarius souls out there who are listening, healing, and wondering if they're the only ones feeling this way. They're not. You're not. And together we make that truth visible. Here on Zodiac Wisdom, this isn't just a YouTube channel. It's a space for real conversations, deep reflections, and soulful connection. If you're a Sagittarius, or you simply care about one, stick around. We're just getting started, and I promise you, the journey ahead will be richer, more freeing, and more aligned with who you truly are. And if all you had in you today was enough strength to pause, take a deep breath, and feel something real, then that, my friend, is already a victory. You don't need to hustle to be worthy. You don't need to be perfect to be loved. You just need to be you. Fully, freely, beautifully you. We're healing. We're rising. And you are never walking this path alone. I'll see you in the next chapter, where your heart will once again hear something it's been longing for all along.